आविराविर्महेभिः वेदस्य मआणीस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind also be firmly established in my speech. May there be perfect correspondence between my thoughts, words, and actions. May the self-effulgent divine shine forth in my life. May the truths of the scriptures come in my life. Let me never forget the teachings that I receive from them. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Protect me. Protect the teacher. Om, peace, peace, peace. Let us feel our self-effulgent, divine, unchanging, immortal nature in our heart as a bright spark of light. Let us concentrate on that light in our heart as our Atman or the real self. As we concentrate on that, this bright spot becomes bigger and bigger, brighter and brighter. I see it has filled my whole body with its most beautiful, bright, indescribably pure light. I am this pure, luminosity. I see the same light pervading everywhere. All is the same one light. And lo and behold, there is no distinction as I and world. All multiplicity has dissolved in this one without second, infinite ocean of light. There is no time, no space. No desires, therefore no sufferings. All full of inner bliss. Everything is bliss and peace. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, last Tuesday we completed, in a way, the Guru Bhava or the teachership aspect of Sri Ramakrishna in this biography. But there is something still remaining. So, the chapter is this particular part called Guru Bhava or Sri Ramakrishna as teacher is not in a way completed by the author. There is this something left, and the author is feeling that, and that something has been therefore put in appendix. Like you write a book and then there are certain things that tidbits that were not covered in the main body of the book. So the author puts them all together and calls it appendix. Sometimes in one book I saw, there were many these appendix 1, appendix 2, appendix 3, and the size of this appendix part was almost as big as the main book. So, if you take out the preface, introduction and the appendix, all those appendices, then that was bigger than the main size of the book. So, anyway, this is not very big, this is just 4 or 5 pages. Okay, let us begin with our opening chant. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashvapaham shravanamangalam श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ते भूरिदा जनाः. In the last chapter, he has been keeping before us the great ideal of devotion without getting into this discernment to find out what is real, what is not real. If you are feeling that reality, in many lives the path of devotion manifests very naturally, because you feel that it is, you see that thing. You don't have to keep on discussing whether it is real or not real. There are people with that constitution. Their constitution is so devotional that they do not need to think of other things. They do not need to argue. And so they straight proceed to that goal. Like you see something that you like to eat and it is right there in front of you. Now you are seeing it, you feel hungry, that thing is also right, you are seeing. Now you do not keep on arguing in your mind whether it is real or unreal. It is, you just go and get it. If there is a problem and you are not able to get it, then you rethink about it. But otherwise, well, you see what is the need of that so much raciocinations and applying logic, and no need. It is that faculty of devotion is very strong in very, very rare people. Let me emphasize this. That these different types of these yogas are integrated in common people, because we have so many different faculties in us, all are present. So you have to illumine all these faculties. Like we have reason, we have some feelings, all these different things are there. We have the desire to work, we have the idea of keeping our mind in check and control. All these faculties are there, which are represented by what is called Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga and Raj Yoga. So a common person will have to take recourse to a mixture of all these fours, and then the proportions will vary depending on the prominent aspect of that person. Some have predominance of this logical faculty, and then therefore they need this path of knowledge, path of discernment. There are those who have more prominence of devotion. So while they need all other these faculties too, other yogas too, a major part of their spiritual life is the yoga of devotion. And then there are people who say, well, I don't like to keep on thinking and discernment, what is real, what is unreal. I get bored with intellectual discussions. Okay, then keep on praying. No, I don't. What is to pray? I can pray, but maybe 2 minutes. What else I will be doing? Give me some work. We get many such people that they like to work. So, the bigger aspect in their life is work, and some like to sit, meditate peacefully, think of the reality and control their senses and so forth. So, all these different aspects therefore get combined in every aspirant, depending on the proportion, depends on the preponderance of one faculty in them. So, this Gopal's mother, that whose biography we saw, was so predominantly devotional that she did not need anything else, and just kept on practicing her devotions as her Guru had told, never questioned what will happen, and just kept on doing it steadfastly for decades together. People get tired, they do the mantra told by the Guru, and next day they have the question, one day I have been practicing meditation for some time, and I still have not got samadhi. What is the point? It is, oh, don't question at all. It is, go on doing it. That is one temperament. There is a beautiful illustrative story of Shabari in Ramayana, that a very touching story, that her Guru had told, well, you keep on waiting for Rama. He is going to come to your this little hut, and so this, she was a little girl, and since then, day after day, months after months, years after years, decades after decades, she kept on waiting for Rama to come. She did not say that, well, I have been waiting for now so many months, Rama has not come. But she never thought of that. She said, my Guru never told that when Rama is coming. He told he is going to come. And so, right since morning, she would clean the courtyard because Rama is coming. He may come any time. She would clean her little hut spotless, and she would go also to collect those little berries in the forest. He was living in the forest. There was no grocery stores there to buy from. So, she would collect and keep them ready if Rama comes today. The idea is that this devotional waiting, no questions need to be asked there. If you have that kind of devotion, see how much sadhana or spiritual practice goes on in that. One becomes, commonly people have so much impatience that, oh, practice, practice. It is not going to happen in one day or 1 year. Continue. It will take long time, but it will happen. It is, as Swami Brahmananda ji used to say, that people come and say that nothing happens. You gave me initiation, but what? So far nothing has happened. He said, I tell them, oh, you continue with the practice. Do it sincerely as I have told you for 2 years. And then if nothing happens, give me a slap on my face. Because it was sure that he was not looking to get a slap. He knew that if they do, then it will happen as have been told to do. So some people do not need all that. So they just follow. It is those who are don't have that kind of faith and the temperament of practice. They have lot of this intellectual, what I should say, Swami Vivekananda himself used this word, lot of intellectual jumbling in their head, and therefore they keep on having questions. Oh, you follow? No, ask questions, hundreds of questions. And then even if you get the answer, again and again the same question is asked. It is so. Now imagine how much time and energy one is wasting. That Swami Vivekananda therefore said when he was Narendranath that I think it would be so nice if I forget everything that I have learned in schools. That will be so easy, the path will be so clear. A lot of our intellectual these studies and understanding, and they throw so many thorns on the way. So we have to now take them away. Oh, you have to, since those thorns are there, now we have to use our intellectual faculty to remove them. But these people like this Gopal's mother just did the sadhana, and here is God in life. Because God is, when the heart becomes clear, then you see it. It is so simple that you clean the mirror of the mind. When it is cleaned, then you see the God there. So that life has been described at the end of this part of biography, the Guru Bhava. But things are still remaining, pending. So Saradananda, the author, adds this appendix, human aspect of the master. And long ago, when I was studying this book, about 45 plus years ago, then at the outset I thought that, well, what is there in this? We need not study this. Because it looks like just simple, again spending time. We have read the whole book, this Sri Ramakrishna's nature as Guru, Sri Ramakrishna's Leela play, divine play as Guru. But now what is this? But as I went on studying it, I felt that this is very, very necessary. Without studying this, probably, or certainly, not even probably, one would have not been benefited by looking at the life of Sri Ramakrishna. This aspect is so important. Not that it has not been told in the previous pages, but yet there is the possibility, the chance that we would forget it. Because we think Sri Ramakrishna as God. So See how our mind deceives ourselves. If we think of Sri Ramakrishna as man, then, well, he is a human being like us. What can he teach us? It is, we know all those things. He is just another, maybe a learned human being with certain special qualities, but that's about it. You don't see him as God. And then there is the other thing that I see Sri Ramakrishna as God. Now the mind has another different reaction. So he is God, I don't have to follow him. How can I am an ordinary human being. How can I follow God? God is God, let us worship God. It is not possible to follow God, so that happens. So therefore the God incarnations like Rama, Krishna, why God has to assume body again and again? Because people see the divine aspect only and put that, make a nice image, a still beautiful that altar and shrine, decorated with gold and what not. Bring lot of nice things every morning and evening or whatever times, they will show incense, light, flowers, pour some water and all that, wash that. All this will be done and that's it. That is God, we are human beings. So only we pray that God keep your blessings on us so that no calamity befalls on us and ours. Let my enjoyments be preserved as I like them. Let me get more money and let there be no problems in life and so forth. Let my enemies die quickly. Those prayers also are included in that. You can see those prayers even in Vedas, where these prayers are for that, because nobody wants these enemies. So, oh God, kill my enemies. So, God is kept in the shrine and kind of confined there. That does not thus come in our life. So, the human aspect is as important as the divine aspect. Human aspect may get missed by looking at the tremendous divine exhibition of Sri Ramakrishna's life. Sri Ramakrishna's life has shown so much of very special characters that you call Sri Ramakrishna as God, and the automatic unconsciously happening reaction in one's life is, therefore now I don't need to follow it. So therefore this chapter is so important. It is not Sri Ramakrishna that you offer a flower only. You do it, but remember that the point is to follow his instructions, his life and so forth. It is for following the footsteps. That is why the books like, the titles are nice, Ramayana. What it means is, this is the path that Rama went by. So you follow that path. It is for following. So to emphasize that aspect, this chapter, this appendix has been put there. So let us read. Many people speak on the divine nature of Sri Ramakrishna. If one looks for the reason, most people revere him, had faith in him and relied upon him, one will find that it lay in his superhuman yogic powers. When asked why they respect him, people generally answered, while sitting in the temple at Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna could see events happening in distant places. He sometimes cured severe physical diseases with merely a touch. He was in constant communication with gods and goddesses. His words were infallible. If he said anything that seemed to be impossible, the external world would change to conform to his words. For example, a man was sentenced to death by the court, but through the Master's grace and blessings, his life was saved and later he was honored instead. On another occasion, a white flower blossomed on a red hibiscus tree. Others said that Sri Ramakrishna could read minds. His keen insight penetrated the coverings of people's physical bodies, allowing him to see their thoughts, propensities, and mental constitutions. His gentle touch could instantly impart visions of chosen deities or deep meditation to even restless devotees and open the gate of Nirvikalpa Samadhi to a few competent aspirants. So, these are the divine features in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, and that is the reason that people would respect him. Nothing wrong in that. This is not to say that Sri Ramakrishna's personality has no divine content or aspect to it. It certainly is, and people respect Sri Ramakrishna for that, but that remains just there. There is the other aspect that Sri Ramakrishna is loved for is we don't know why we love Sri Ramakrishna. It is like Swami Vivekananda's quote is given here, that it is we cannot tell if we are deluded, but our eyes are dazzled by his brilliant splendor and our minds are permanently merged into his love. Despite our efforts, we cannot withdraw our minds, nor can we make them analyze this situation. It is as if knowledge, logic and reasoning have drifted away. Sorry. We can only say, I am your servant, birth after birth. This is quote from Swami Vivekananda's poem. I am your servant, birth after birth, O ocean of mercy. Your ways are unknown to me, as are my own. But who cares to know? It was at your command that I cast from my mind delight, liberation, devotion, discrimination, japa, austerities and spiritual disciplines. But still I desire to know you, O Lord. Take me beyond that longing as well. So, this is what Swami Vivekananda said about Sri Ramakrishna, that so it is from this song I sing to thee. So, it is evident that except for a few people of the last sort, all people who came in contact with the Master were devoted to him, had faith in him, and had relied upon him, either because of how his powers manifested themselves or because of his mental abilities. Materialistic people believed that if they paid honor to him, they would be cured of disease, or that events would unfold in their favor during times of danger or difficulty. One can easily see that a current of selfishness was flowing in their minds, though they might not have admitted it. We are aware of many instances of Sri Ramakrishna's divine powers, and we have no doubt that even if people offer devotion to him in order to fulfill their desires, they still receive immense benefit thereby. We do not intend to discuss this topic here. Rather, our aim is to depict Sri Ramakrishna's human traits. But saying this, he discusses that aspect also a little bit. That commonly we see that people go to temples. It is seen that if they have an exam coming up, then so many people start going to the temples. It is take the blessings so that they will do well in exam. Now that is to fulfill certain desires, that let this happen. It is I get many calls that tomorrow is my such and such thing, please bless that everything goes on very well. Now what can I say? Okay, yes, if my blessings are going to do it, let it be so. It is they even they buy a lottery ticket, sometimes it is there is that story also that a man was praying to get the lottery, and then after some days the Lord came in his dream and said, "Oh dear, at least buy a lottery ticket, It is, you at least have to put in that much effort." So, but some actually buy the ticket and then keep inside the shrine in front of God, so that the image of God, so that God will bless, and then they will get the lottery. So, I knew one gentleman that I asked him one day that, "Hey, today the lottery's results are out. Did you check whether you got it or not?" He said, "Well, it is, I have to first take bath. Without that, I don't go to shrine, and that ticket is kept in the shrine, So, it is right for the God to keep on blessing it." So, that is a general tendency, that to keep on praying for some such worldly gain. So, our prayers are for the sense enjoyments and such worldly gains, and since our efforts to get those are not enough, we seek some divine help also. An atheist was, this is a recorded event, that an atheist who had taken a vow of being an atheist, that he was seen by one of his friend that he was coming out of a temple. "Hey, why do you go there? Do you believe?" "I don't really believe, but today there is the result of one of the important cases in the court. So, I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I don't believe there is God, but in case, if He is there, so I want to not cover that aspect also. I therefore wanted to just go and tell God, hey, see that I win the case. So, it is there is the idea in us, all of us, whether even if a person is that confirmed atheist outside, has some idea of praying to God. After all, there is some power and all that. So, most people's devotion is of this type, but look at the psychology of that devotion, and you can see that that is why God is feared. It is called Sakama Bhakti, the devotion with some desires. Kam means devotions, Kam means desires. So, the devotion to fulfill certain worldly desires. So, it is like that. Even if you find somebody, one young lady, she later renounced everything and became a nun, but so because of her devotion she used to come and sit in the temple as a college student, and then seeing her sitting like that and meditating and praying, one elderly lady, after observing her for many days, goes to her and asks, do you have any physical ailment or any problem that you are coming and sitting here? It is, are you sitting here so that you will get married very quickly and so forth? Do you have any such problem? And the girl said, well, I didn't understand how to answer this question. So she said, no, just like that I like to sit and meditate, so I come. So, otherwise it is out of some desires. What happens with that? Look at the psychology of it. Devotion with the purpose of fulfilling one's desires does not allow a devotee to ascend to the highest level of truth. Selfishness begets fear, and that fear makes a person gradually become weaker. Therefore, people are afraid of God. That is, especially in the Western world, you see people thinking of God. I must do it, otherwise God will punish me. Now that fear is there. So let me do this out of fear of God. So why is there fear? Because otherwise I want so many things from God, and so like a big boss, you don't want to cross the big boss, otherwise you will lose lot of benefits. So God is thought of as a boss like that, and so we should please God, so that He keeps on showering favors on us. So this is another common tendency that is seen. We are scared of God. We don't therefore love God. We respect God, but we out of fear that that God may otherwise do something, punish me, do something bad to me, will take away all my money and so forth, put some disease in my body. So, therefore, out of fear, they pray to God, try to propitiate God. So, this is what is the result of a devotion with some ulterior motive to be fulfilled through that. So, we see this, that it is serving one's self-interest also engenders egotism and sometimes increase laziness. Yeah, well, let God do things, I don't know what to do. So a person relies on God in that sense, not in a good sense, but because of fear, you do not go with lot of initiative and self effort. So a laziness develops. That is what Swami Vivekananda mentioned about the Indian people. They have become lazy, pretending that they are devotees, that they rely on God, when God gives it will happen, and so forth. No, you have to put in lot of effort. Just glibly saying that God will take care of it. I had told you that incident. Our General Secretary Swami, very senior Swami at the time, and then he called me. I was in Nagpur, and our senior Swami, who had a heart attack and was being treated. So he called and told me, take good care of this Swami, don't spare any effort. If needed, bring doctor from Bombay or take this Swami to Bombay for treatment. Do not spare any effort, remember. So I said, yes, yes, we are doing whatever best we can do, and let us see what Sri Ramakrishna does. After all, everything is in the hands of Sri Ramakrishna. So he said immediately, look, I am not as spiritual as you are. I don't see Sri Ramakrishna, I see you, and I will hold you responsible. So put in every single effort. Do not, because reliance on God is taken sometimes in a reverse, wrong way. That's why I don't need to put in any efforts. That is not reliance on God. So it is laziness. It is, we have a saying in our language which translates into English as that if my God is there, He will give me my food right on my bed. I don't have to stir from my bed. If my God is there, He will bring food to me. If an person with intense devotion says that, that is an aspect of the surrender. But otherwise this person is saying this out of laziness, not out of devotion. Who will put in efforts? So that is what Swami Vivekananda observed in India. People do not want to put in efforts, and thus what happens is they remain poor, and then they start singing the glories of renunciation. It is not renunciation. You are lazy fellow and not doing anything, and then since therefore you don't get anything, and then you start saying that, well, after all, what is the use of getting all those worldly things? I practice renunciation. That is not renunciation. It is worship of God, praying to God for the fulfillment of certain desires, that gradually brings this fear and laziness in life. So it obstructs people from vision, rendering them incapable of seeing things as they really are. These statements are really wonderful. They stop us from seeing things as they are. I am not saying in a spiritual sense. What happens is our fantasies play so much. It is to learn to separate facts from fantasies is a very important practical lesson in a devotional life. The fantasies easily take over, and so that does not let us see things as they are. We attach so many non-existent things as a superstructure on what is there. One has to see the facts separate from fantasies. So, therefore, you should see this thing that we start thinking about ourselves as such great person. I am so brilliant, I can do all these things, but a lot of it is not factual. It is factually there is some truth in it, but a lot of it is coming out of the fantastic idea about oneself and about others and about the things that we see. So, learning to separate these things is a practical spiritual aspect in Sri Ramakrishna's life. We can see it later that it is if the master learned that a devotee had developed clairvoyance or any supernatural power by practicing meditation, he forbade that person to meditate for some time, lest egotism develop and divert the devotee from the goal of God realization. This happened in case of Narendranath, who became Swami Vivekananda. Narendranath developed this faculty. He was so adept in meditation. It is for us, we have to put effort to meditate. With Narendranath, meditation was his the constant nature to meditate. So, meditation came to him very easy, but as the meditation intensified, certain powers develop. Our senses become very, very keen. It is these things are described by Patanjali, that for a normal thing also you know this happening that those who have the concentrated desire to listen to something, even if it is very feeble, others will not be able to listen to that. This person will be able to listen because the mind is concentrated. It is, I was expecting a phone call. Those were the days the phones were not on the desk, there used to be phone. So, and that phone has developed some problem. It was not a direct line, it used to come from some other that connection. So, the ring at all would be very feeble, and where I used to sit, lot of trucks and vehicles and all going on, and some persons, they had come to see me. So, those people were sitting, and then that fellow saw I am picking the phone, and then I spoke on the phone for some time, kept the phone back, and that person, how did you know the phone that there was no ring? I said there was ring, but because I was waiting for it, I knew, and so my attention, although there was the noise of the trucks, although I was speaking to you, I was looking for it, and so concentration was there. So, because of concentration, you can hear very feeble sounds also, you can see very minute things if you are trained and have the concentration to see that. It is so, when that faculty becomes much more intense, then it is like clairvoyance happening something somewhere 5 miles away, and then Narendra could hear that. He could see things that actually are not within the common human range of vision. And then what would prompt him? That he would then go to verify. Very mind was like that, whether it is true or it was just my mind was cheating me. So he would go and then see whether it really was like that. I heard that this person said like that, I saw also, but let me go and verify, was that really happening? And to his amazement, it actually was happening like that. Now he told Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna, the remedy that Sri Ramakrishna gave him, don't do meditation for some time, because you are getting distracted by meditation. Meditation is good, but if it is not yielding the proper result, in fact it is taking you in another direction, stop it. Sri Ramakrishna had this keen observation of his disciples, because this is how human mind, having lot of desires, constantly bubbling up. So one way of fulfilling them would be, okay, if I know whatever is happening in the world in every nook and corner, then wow, I will have this special faculty developed in me. I will be able to know what is even in the minds of the people, and so I will achieve then lot of success in my business. I will know beforehand which stocks are going to fall tomorrow, so I will sell them today, and so forth, which are going to go up a price, I will buy them today, and so forth. So all these things they distract the mind from going to the ultimate goal of meditation. So Sri Ramakrishna said, don't meditate. So we heard him say repeatedly that developing supernatural powers is not the goal of human life. But ignorant human beings do not do anything or obey anyone without calculating their own profit and loss. And calculating means calculating according to their desires, the worldly desires. If that is going to happen, then I will do it. It is, we shall continue to discuss these things more in our next class. But this is how commonly people pray, meditate, and thus they understand Sri Ramakrishna also from that point of view, that he is like God and he will fulfill our desires. It is my predecessor told one devotee who came to him, said that, oh, I have my driving test today, so I came to pray to Sri Ramakrishna. And then he said, well, Sri Ramakrishna didn't know how to drive, so he may not be of much help. So it is, so such our own ideas about getting many things in the world, and so God is prayed for. It is nothing wrong, it is better than not praying, It is better than not praying, but it is not the best form of this spiritual or prayerful life. One has to learn to pray for the real things rather than those who will be bringing our life in more turmoil. Anyway, so let us think of these teachings for a few seconds, and then in case if you have any question, you can ask or type whatever. Yes, anybody has any question? Oh, Abhishek has today also a question. Okay.
All right, so while thinking about, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So while thinking about this world, I came up with an alternative theory. I want to know what is wrong in this. So we all know that by the power of computer science, we can create an alternate world, a game or an avatar in that world. Now we will have certain rules in which these players can play in the world and interact. Similarly, we can also create genders and attraction, and only then the world will go ahead. Once there is no attraction, so these agents would be able to evolve amongst themselves. Very similar to this world. However, the creator, in this case the programmer, is no way linked to what is going on in that world. And that world is of course an illusion, and those players are just limited to that. Their lives will terminate. They have nothing higher to achieve, which is not a necessity. It's completely unrelated and unconnected. So why is our world not like that?
Well, our world also is actually like that. It is, there is no reality to it, you know. It is just pieces programmed, and they, according to the program, they move about. They do things according to, and in that program itself there is a program to get out of this play. It is, that is why mathematics is called just a play. It is, there are these rules of formal mathematics, that the rules of logic. So why are these rules of logic? There is no further reason to that, because again you will have to use logic to show why these rules of logic are there. So there is no reason for the rules of reason. So these are there for that we like. If you don't like, you can have some other rules. It is like play, you know. You play, say, basketball. So you have to use your hands, and it is, you cannot kick the balls there in basketball. So it is, that is not, they play, hey, I want to kick the ball, why should we not kick the ball? You can, it will be a different game, that's all. So according, you change the rules. If it is not very enjoyable, to make it enjoyable, you make some changes in the rules so that it becomes more competitive. So you change the rules. There is a game like, you must have seen that in India a lot, carom. You know carom? So one attains to such expertise through little practice, that both players, it is impossible to find winner, because everybody will be just, they get the strike and then they would have won the board. So, and the other person is doing the same thing, and there are so many people with some same skills. So now what to do? To prevent that, there are, so they put certain rules, that the one who is going to get the strike, the opponent would arrange all those things there. So the board would be arranged by the other person. So it makes it a little difficult. So, like that you should be able to have that game. If you don't like those rules, okay, you change them and make another thing. So, that is how this, if this game is going on, in this game there is this part, let me get out of this. I have been playing too long, I am tired, and now I want to go home. So, there the person becomes spiritual, that now I want liberation, I want release from this torture of again and again getting into game, again and again getting born, again and again running after these non-existent enjoyments. And that is, yeah, so there, like those you program things in artificial intelligence, they do all such, you know, that okay, now this will run on its own. Actually, it is not running on its own, it has been programmed to run like that, apparently on its own. So, it is they learn on their own, you know, it is machine learning, as it is called, you know, the machines, they learn. There was in 19 about close to 1950 a very important paper, that is a kind of pioneering paper in artificial intelligence, written by John von Neumann. So, that it was that self-learning automata, that was the title of that paper. So, how they learn, but that is also put in the program that they will learn. So, sometimes people used to have the idea that human beings are not machines, they are not like computers, because they can learn. Well, that is also put in the human program, you know, that you will learn. It is, and thus it is hardwired like that. One neuroscientist, I remember his words, that well, we do not have really free will as such, because it is, we feel that we have free will because our brain is hardwired to feel that we have free will. So, that is how it goes on, that is true. So, when you learn to see it as play, now you give up all desires, it is just a play. In some losing is fine, winning is fine, there is nothing to lose actually, because it is not real, it is just a play. And thus one comes to, you know, no worries, therefore, when you see it as play, there are no worries, no problems, all problems are part of the play. So, you take it as part of the play, you do not worry about it, it is, and thus you get liberated. That is the liberation, when to see it as play.
Swamiji, there are a couple of
questions,
web questions. Yeah.
Okay.
One from Tarasvin.
Yes, Tarasvin.
Yeah, Maharaj Pranam.
Pranam.
Why does Swamiji in a hymn describes Sri Ramakrishna as Avatara Varishthayo, the best among incarnations? Was it due to his depth of spiritual realization or something else?
Well, it is a very profound question and has been discussed by many great Swamis. A very important question, that why Sri Ramakrishna is called Avatara Varishtha, the greatest amongst incarnation, by Swami Vivekananda. What does it mean? Of course, he has tremendous devotion for Sri Ramakrishna, but a person with such clarity of understanding, that does it mean that the incarnations earlier, Varishta or the Supreme, best, it is a superlative expression. What about the other incarnations of God? Were they in any way less than Sri Ramakrishna? Does it not connote like that? Was Rama and Krishna, or say Jesus, Buddha, Shankaracharya, were they less than Sri Ramakrishna? Not in its content, not as the spiritual capabilities. The difference is that what is suitable to this age. Those incarnations were also greatest during their time period. Now this time period has changed. So Sri Ram, the God has to assume a human form that is right for that situation, that age. So just as we put on the dress that is best for that occasion, like if you are going for some big function, lot of people are coming with their best dresses put on, and so you also go putting on your best clothes, jewelry and all that, so that that is you are putting that attire which is best for that occasion. But suppose you have to do garden work in your yard, now that clothing is not suitable for that. If you want to go for swimming, that clothing will not be suitable for that. So according to the occasion you decide this is the best. So for the present age, Sri Ramakrishna has shown the path to people who are of the kind of rational temperament. At least they think that they are rational temperament. Moreover, there is much intensified desires for enjoyment. The variety that the science and engineering has ushered in the world, now you see there is the offshoots of that, like consumerism. Not that people in the earlier days also they had the desires and greed and all that, nothing new. New is that there are now the efforts to intensify this desire and bring more variety to it. So that is what it is done now. This is a new phone, new generation phone. Now what is there? Immediately it will be advertised, some little extra benefit there, and so people will go to buy it. So that kind of situation where people's minds are so much attracted towards these things, Sri Ramakrishna has shown the path of that renunciation of that degree. No I. Moreover, earlier the incarnations of God didn't need to practice all different faiths, because there was not so much constant communication between different parts of the world. Now it is there, so the God also has to therefore take the form that is suitable for this age. In that sense, Sri Ramakrishna is called Avatar Varishtha, the greatest amongst incarnation. There is tremendous devotion, but that devotion that Swami Vivekananda has is for Sri Ramakrishna as the principle, the Brahman, as well as this expression for both the devotion is there. So, that this is not the question of denigrating previous incarnations, because it is the same person. It is only the attire is praised because it is suitable for the this particular age, that is all. It is the same being has taken this attire. It is in that sense, it is like that. So, that is the difference.
There is another question, Swamiji. Do you have
Yes.
time? This is from Shubha. Shubha.
Yes.
Pranam Swamiji.
Pranam Shubha.
In absolute determinism,
Okay.
there doesn't seem to be any leeway for individual wish, correct? So, wishing to be out of this world play, it is still not account of individual wish.
Well, that is again a very deep question, that absolute determinism, where everything is already determined by God. We are just actors in the script. There is no individual free will there. So, is it the case? Then if that is the case, why should we have any initiative? Things will happen according to as they are scripted. You don't have any freedom, just like an actor acting in a play just follows the script, doesn't have the choice to add his own or her own thing there. So, as per the script. So, is our life absolute determinism is like that? Is it so? Even that also has to be then included in that absolute determinism. This determinism is also then has to be a part of that whole structure, that there is this absolute determinism and there is the free will idea, that also has been already determined, you see. So, that also is a part of it. So, absolute determinism is to be seen, then you have to go to that level where everything is determined. Even that you are going to ask this question, Shubha is going to ask this question, that also is determined, you see. And this fellow Swami is going to give this answer, that also is determined in absolute determinism. So, absolute determinism therefore is there is no solution as such. You can call it absolute determinism. Where does it leave us? Okay, God has already determined everything. So, there is another view to that we are like a compound of matter and spirit. We feel that we are spirit, we are conscious. There is consciousness and then there is the matter, like my bones, blood and so forth. They are all matter, and then there is the consciousness. Now, the matter is always bound by law. There is the determinism applies to matter, not to consciousness, which is ever free. And therefore, this determinism applies only to the material aspect of life, but not to the conscious aspect of life. So, one cannot really discuss more than this, you know. So, thank you very much. Okay?
That's all, Swamiji.
So, let us conclude with the closing prayers. There is again I announce that there is the spiritual retreat coming up on June 18th, and registration for it can be done at a concessional rate till June 3rd. After that, and the regular fee of $30 will have to be paid. Otherwise, it is $20 only. So, those who want to take the benefit of this reduced fee, you can put the application as soon as possible. Our Naomi in the bookstore can help you with that, or you can do it online as well. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving Being manifest Himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.